Despite wrapping up in terrible fashion every single time, we have a new Dexter TV series that has just concluded on Paramount Plus. This one being Dexter Original Sin, a prequel to the main series and I guess everything that came after that as well. And this won't be the last time I'm doing this video this year, because later on we do have Dexter Resurrection, a continuation of the character after New Blood and an attempt to once again improve upon that show's ending. But today we're going to be talking about the 4 shows that Dexter currently occupies, and we'll be ranking them from worst to best. Now, if you may prefer a seasonal ranking, I do have one from a few years back. It might not be that great of quality, but still I ranked all 8 seasons of the regular Dexter show as well as New Blood alongside that. So yeah, I'll make sure to leave a link for that above. But without further ado, let's get into this ranking of all 4 Dexter TV series. Now, you may have been confused what the 4th show was, and that is this one, Dexter, The Early Cuts. Not really a classic traditional TV show like the other 3 are, but I thought I'd include it for a bit of fun. It's a mini web series filmed in like the format of like a animated comic book. Kind of just fills in some little gaps between certain areas of Dexter's life. Now, with the format of this show, as it is several 2 or 3 minute long episodes, you can't really do much with that. Yes, it's cool to gain some extra info, but it's not really that exciting or interesting. You may have an intriguing plotline here or there, but they're never fleshed out that much, or they're rushed through. And while it is cool to have Michael C. Hall voice the character again, you can tell he's not really trying, as not many people have seen this. And to be honest, I don't actually know if it is technically canon, especially after Original Sin has come out. I might have missed a thing about that, but it would be interesting to see. But yeah, it's quite an unnecessary watch, to be honest. It's kind of cool seeing this art form. It definitely looks worse in the first season, but there's some cool moments later on. But yeah, you can literally watch all 3 seasons of this within like, I don't know, half an hour or something, so you're not missing anything at all. But I thought I'd include it in here for fun. But yeah, not life-changing at all. You should know me better than that. Next up we have Dexter New Blood. This was the revival show from back in 2021, and for the most part I actually really enjoyed this series. I know it's quite low down on this list, but I just enjoyed the other ones a bit more. This was probably made purely because of the unsatisfying ending of Dexter, the original series. So this kind of attempts to provide a more satisfying end to what we see of this character, and it begins off really strong, and to be honest, for the majority of the season it's very strong. It touches on this fractured relationship between Dexter and Harrison, his son, as well as just providing this whole new tone, which is very different from the original show. It was a weird adjustment at first, but I came to like it and appreciated that they went for a sort of new feel to this show rather than just making it feel so much like a Dexter season 9. Even alongside that, there's the intriguing small town mystery that goes on, and with Dexter investigating and, you know, fighting his dog passenger, it was quite interesting to see that dynamic. For it ultimately to be thrown out the window, just like in the original Dexter's finale, where they completely missed the mark and pretty much destroy everything they're built up within this show. I actually was more unsatisfied with this show's ending than the original one, probably because I was very frustrated that they'd done it before. This seemed to be a definitive ending to the character, but as we know, they're now trying to change that once again with Dexter Resurrection. So yeah, for the most part I really enjoyed Dexter New Blood, but it really botched the ending and kind of soured the overall experience a little bit, but still a really different project, but one which I appreciate having. Shake your body, baby, do that conga. No, you can't control yourself any longer. Which leads us to my most surprising pick for myself, at least, Dexter Original Sin. Leading up to this, I was not that excited at all. I really love Dexter, the whole, I guess, franchise now, but this just felt unnecessary. It felt like Paramount trying to milk Dexter as much as they can, and it still kind of feels like that considering that they have that new show coming out as well. But I had no faith in Original Sin, and especially since they're recasting, it just looked very cheap. But I am pleased to say that I was proven very, very wrong, and this is actually really good, and it just fits in so naturally with the original series. And as I mentioned, all the cast members are recast, but you don't really feel it. Yes, it's a bit jarring at the start, but it's always going to be. I think they all nailed down those characters really well, whether that's from their appearance or even their mannerisms, which I thought they all were excellent with, especially Patrick Gibson as Dexter himself. I was really buying into him being a younger version of Dexter, and at times it just completely crossed my mind. I had just accepted that they were the same person, which I think is kudos to the team and to Gibson himself, because that's a very tough thing. You've got so many eyes on this project expecting it to fail, and it's just done its job very, very well. Now on top of that, it just feels very nostalgic. It just feels part of the same series as Dexter, where that's from, you know, the same intro more or less, same music, same location, but also the tone. There's a sprinkle of humor and charm to it alongside all the gruesome stuff happening in the background. So I thought they balanced it really well. It wasn't completely perfect. There were some areas where certain twists were quite obvious, or specific areas weren't too unique, they were quite familiar. You couldn't have asked for a better first season to this show. I don't know if they plan to continue it, but I was very satisfied with what we got, especially given the fan service. Not that it relied on it, but it just sprinkled enough in there to really propel this project up to higher levels. So yeah, good job to the creators, everyone involved with this series. You surpassed my expectations big time by earning Dexter Original Sin at second spot. And that leads us to number one being Dexter, of course, and I can probably spoil it and say this is going to be my number one pick when Dexter Resurrection comes out as well, because there's no way that this is being topped. There's a reason this has spawned into a TV franchise, because it's the best. And I really love this show, from its characters, its writing. It always had something in store for me, and even when it went wrong, I could still appreciate the overall project. Michael C. Hall is perfect in the lead role, and just such a charismatic figure, while also having that darkness about him, which makes him such an interesting character. The dynamic he has by working with Miami Metro, as well as his sister being part of it, is very fascinating and constantly leaves you on edge, and it just gets your blood pumping, the adrenaline rushing whenever he's on the edge of being caught. This dynamic aside, the mysteries themselves are also fascinating. I'm fully invested in what they're investigating. So combining that with this character, this complex character who just generates interesting and tense scenarios, it's just a recipe for success. Now when a show runs for 8 seasons, it's going to be hard to maintain that consistency, and there are some faults, especially in the later seasons and the way this show wraps up, but I think for the most part everyone can agree that Dexter is a fantastic show. It's one of the few shows that I have watched in the recent years where it's hard to click off. Normally I watch an episode and I need a break, but with this I just wanted to keep clicking on the next one even if it messed up my sleep schedule. So yeah, I really love Dexter. I think the series is fantastic. Yes, it has its faults, especially with the way the overall product ends, and yes, it does harm the way you look back on it, but at the same time, it did so much right that you can look past that ending, especially when they're trying to make amends. So yeah, to no surprise, Dexter comes in at first place. So that was my ranking of all 4 Dexter shows, including the micro web series as well. I've said everything I wanted to say about this series and franchise. I'm all here for it, to be honest. Yes, I do think they are milking it, but if they can at least provide a satisfying ending, they managed to do one in the original Sin, but if they provide a satisfying ending, I have no problem with Resurrection. I am a bit cautious, but there is definitely still life within this character. I am hoping that if Resurrection is the final time we see Dexter, it will at least end in him being caught and facing off against his former work colleagues, his former friends, because I was really hyped to see how they reacted finding out about Dexter's true identity, but we got deprived of that, so hopefully that series will have it in store for us. Thank you for watching, I hope you did enjoy. Please let me know what yours is down below, your ranking, and yeah, I should see you in my next video.